What percentage of your income should you save towards your early retirement? Now that you understand how the FIRE number works, you have to focus on your income and your savings rate. You can only reduce your expenses so much, but you can't possibly achieve FIRE without increasing your income. Could you save 50% of your income if you make less than $100,000 a year? That's going to be pretty tough, right? You can't possibly buy appreciating assets if your income stays the same for the next 20 years. The biggest part of creating your wealth is to do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to get a well-paying job. If you don't have one of those, you need to make your income your highest priority. And like the late Charlie Munger said, I did everything I could to save my first $100,000 in my taxable brokerage account because that was really the hardest thing I ever had to do to save my money towards FIRE. And believe it or not, I managed to save my first $100,000 with just one index fund, and that was the S&P 500 index fund. And if you ask me in the comment section if you should do the same, I'm not going to reply to you because you should never invest in something you don't understand. You should never invest in something because I said I did or anybody else on YouTube. The FIRE journey is not meant to be a sprint, but a marathon. You need to understand the long game and not the short-term results. Your personal finance is very personal, so it wouldn't be fair for me or anyone else to blindly tell you how you should invest without knowing your entire financial situation, right? And you should really consider joining my private client program where I coach clients on a one-on-one basis by visiting firestructure.com/coaching to schedule your first session with me. Anyway, here's what I can do to help you get started. And this is how I prioritize my savings and investments. And you can download this savings rate calculator by visiting firestructure.com/resources. And this is a very, very simple calculator where you can measure your savings rate. And your savings rate absolutely matters more than the investment returns. It's not about getting that 8%, 9%, or 10% return on investments. It's about increasing your savings rate to the maximum so that you can achieve financial independence and retire early. At the bare minimum, you want to invest up to the employer match right here, right? And you don't want to miss that out because when you're out of debt and have some cash reserve set aside, then you want to go absolutely ham on your savings. It's not about saving 25% of your income towards retirement anymore. It's about maxing out every retirement vehicle up to the IRS limit. I don't even ask what the percentage is because I care more about what I can do now to max out and accumulate every retirement account every year until my early retirement. So when I was single, before I got married, my employer always contributed about 5% of my income to my 401k. So if you have any profit sharing plan or some type of an employer match, then you want to at least contribute to that minimum. The maximum contribution limit for your 401k is not $23,000, it's actually $69,000 between you as an employee and your employer. Your employee contribution is $23,000, but your employer could technically contribute an additional $46,000. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have a very generous employer. That would be awesome, right? And this is huge, especially if you're a self-employed individual like me, because you can contribute both as an employee and an employer. And I have a solo 401k, and I'll talk about that in a future video. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done it already. And then after the employer match, the next one I prioritize is the HSA or health savings account. And this account requires you to have a high deductible health plan, which is not for everyone. And I'm fortunate to be healthy enough now with no pre-existing conditions. I only do my physical checkup once a year and I don't have to take any medications. If I ever have to make co-pays or for anything like dental or something like that, I will always have cash reserved to pay for my medical expenses instead of using my money out of my HSA to pay for it. And I treat my HSA like a separate retirement account because I can reimburse myself in my early retirement with medical, dental, and vision expenses that incur now. There's no expiration date for the qualified medical expenses. In 2024, I can contribute up to either $4,150 as a single individual or $8,300 for the family plan. And I can also contribute to the HSA in pre-tax dollars, invest that money into an index fund, and then take the money out tax-free if they're for qualified medical expenses. After I turn 65, I can use the HSA money to pay for any expenses. It's almost like a combination of a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. And speaking of a Roth IRA, I will never miss out on a Roth IRA contribution during my FIRE journey. And I missed out all my Roth contributions before 2015, 2016, because I was in debt. Knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time. Anyway, in 2024, you can contribute up to $7,000 or $8,000 if you're over the age of 50. The spreadsheet gets updated every year. And I can use my Roth IRA contributions in my early retirement instead of waiting all the way until I'm 59 and a half. And keep in mind that I can only take out what I contributed to my Roth IRA. So I will have to wait until I'm 59 and a half to take any earnings and interest out of the Roth IRA. So for example, if I contribute $7,000 to my Roth IRA in 2024, and that $7,000 in the S&P 500 occurs $1,000 in total earnings, then I can only take out the $7,000 contribution, but I have to wait until I'm 59 and a half to take out the $1,000 earnings. That makes sense so far, right? And you can see that the Roth IRA and HSA combined right here will only be about 9% of my total income or your total income if you make almost $125,000 a year in salary. Then the next one is to max out your 401k. And before you try to argue with me that you can't take money out of your 401k until you're in your 60s, let me just tell you that you are wrong, all right? And I actually just did a detailed video on how to take out your 401k early, penalty-free on my channel. So be sure to check it out when you get a chance. So what do you think is better? Investing $500 a month, making 10% return, or investing $1,000 a month, making a 7% return on investment? You can't figure out how much you can invest without a budget. There's no way around it. I personally tested out the budgeting app called YNAB, and it's not just an app that can track your income and expenses, but it can even help you create a plan to pay down your student loans, car loans, personal loans, or credit cards a lot faster. So if you're ready to change your life by getting out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle, you can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. Just by maxing out your 401k, that's about 18% of your gross income at $125,000. Having a Roth 401k would be even better because I can withdraw the contributions if I move it over to your Roth IRA when I retire early. I wouldn't have to wait until I'm 55 to get money out of the Roth 401k. With the traditional 401k, however, you can only take it out early if I quit or retire at the age of 55 or later. You can change the 401k to 403b or TSP using the drop-down menu right here, okay? If you're 50 and over, you can change it to 30,500. And over here, oh no, okay, I'm gonna make the change on that. Looks like it's locked, but I'm gonna change that to where you can change it to 401k, 403b, or TSP. So once you're done with your HSA, Roth IRA, and 401k, then you need to figure out how much of your income can go into the index funds inside your taxable brokerage account right here, okay? Can you start with, let's say, 8% of your income? And what if you increase it to 16, 15% of your income, okay? If you take a look at the bottom of the total contributions, the total calculations here, and as a single individual, you could save up to 32% of your gross income towards your HSA, IRA, and 401k, making $125,000 a year if you contribute an additional 10% to your taxable brokerage account. Then that's going to put you at 40%, right? So if I put $10,000 back over here, so that's going to be exactly 40%. Could you save 50% of your income? You have to be the one to make these calculations based on your current expenses. Make sure to have some fun money set aside so that you can have that balance between FIRE and living in the moment now. And I purposely left off the spouse's savings rate until now because I wanted you to see what your savings rate would be like just based on one person's income, okay? So if your spouse is also making money, and let's say, I don't know, I'll do a big number, $100,000 a year, right? Then the total savings rate would be reduced to 2% for the HSA. And let me change that to 8,300. Okay, that would be the family plan, and that's 4%, right? Roth IRA, and then a 401k. Okay, so what if I start adding 5% or $5,000 a year to the spouse's 401k, And let's do, I'm going to change that to 4150. Let's say your spouse also has an HSA and the Roth IRA at 7,000. Okay. It would be a total of 30% between both spouses. And if the spouse also maxes out the 401k, imagine that. Okay. Then that's going to put you at about 40% savings rate between both spouses. How incredible is it to save almost $90,000 a year just in retirement, right? And saving an additional 15%, let's say $33,000. And that would put you at a 50% savings rate. Do you see that at the bottom here? Could you save more? Let's say you hit 50%. Absolutely. But it's going to depend on the total household expenses. If you're in a position where you and your spouse both work, you have the best opportunity to save and invest 40, 50, or maybe even 60% of your total combined income. And that's what my wife and I have been doing for many, many years now. And this is the FIRE checklist that I've been using since 2014. The first step is to calculate your FIRE number. Okay, we've established that. The second step is to save for your rainy day fund. I always recommend saving enough cash to pay for your insurance deductibles like your medical, vehicle, and home deductibles. Then the next step is to always contribute to your 401k up to your employer match. The only exception is if you can't afford it, in which case you should stop contributing to your 401k. It would be ridiculous for you to contribute to your 401k if you can't feed yourself, pay your mortgage, or pay your utilities, right? And then after your employer match, you're gonna start paying down your high interest debt. This is where you pay off your car loans, personal loans, student loans, 401k loans, credit cards, and anything else that doesn't provide you any value or ROI. Ask anybody in the FIRE community, do they have car loans? Do they have any 401k loans? No. The only debt I found that provides any value, okay, or ROI is really the mortgage debt. And that's why it's on the very last step of my FIRE checklist. You can't mathematically save or invest for your early retirement if you're still carrying a bad debt. And everything else after that is very self-explanatory, like just maxing out your emergency fund, maxing out your Roth IRA and HSA, your 401k, and achieve your 50% savings rate and building your generational wealth. Some of you guys in the comment section have told me in the past that saving cash in an emergency fund is a waste of time and that a job is never your concern, right? You lose your job and you can pick it up right away. Kudos to you if you got that figured out, but I'm much more risk averse when it comes to step 5 here because I've experienced several job losses in my lifetime that required extra cash. I always recommend having that cash cushion, like a mattress between you and the floor, so that you don't end up borrowing from your 401k, taking out a loan, or selling your taxable investments. I never want to sell my investments. I want to keep them, right? Because if I sell them, I got to pay taxes. If I sell them, they're not going to grow anymore. I even experienced a flood in my home a few years ago after we got back from Legoland that required cash up front to have everything repaired. I came home to a flooded floor. Entire floor was flooded because there was, as soon as we left for a trip, didn't shut the water off. I do it now, but the toilet bowl cracked. So the water started to leak, but because the toilet constantly fills up, then it just constantly leaked for days and it came back and the whole floor was soaked. And I had to use cash to pay for that, right? If I didn't have cash at all, I would have used maybe a credit card and just, accrue a 20-25% interest rate, take out a personal loan to fix for something. What if my insurance company didn't pay for any of that damage? Because that total bill for the whole flood was like over $30,000, almost $40,000. So I am much more comfortable having 6 months of expenses set aside in cash, so I never have to worry about paying for any unexpected expenses like the flood without going back into debt again. And going back into debt is something I swore to never do again. I'm also looking to pay off my mortgage early before I retire early. I don't even want to entertain the idea of carrying any debt going into my 50s, even if the interest rate is below 3%. That's just me. Okay. And I would love to know your savings rate in the comment section below. Do you also track your Roth contributions in your Roth 401k or Roth IRA? If your income is over 6 figures this year, are you able to max out your 401k? When you calculate your savings rate, make sure to include your employer match or contribution and use your gross income, not your take-home income. I'm giving you all of these resources for free so that you can win because I want you to win. Don't get stuck in paralysis by analysis. You have to just do it. Make some mistakes and correct them as you go. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.